This conference will now.
It says recording in progress.
Yeah, but I don't know what's happening.
So can you guys hear us?
I can.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm gonna start over roll call because I know some of you that are there. So do we have folks from DEMA?
Yeah,
Chris Pittman?
Yeah,
right?
Chris Pittman's here. Yep.
Do we have anybody else from DEMA? What about Department of Homeland Security?
Michael Stone from Arizona Department of Homeland Security.
Great. And DPS?
Josh Henson, DPS.
That's great. ADOT? Do we have anybody from ADOT? Do we have Derek Aronson or Brent Kane? Not seeing him. Okay. What about Department of Agriculture?
Hi, Suzette DePercio. This call has kicked me off a couple of times. I'm on my phone because I couldn't get on my computer. So if you do lose me, I will try to call back in. Thank you.
Sorry for the technical challenges. Arizona Corporation Commission.
Yes, Joe Pinkerman is on.
Great. Industrial Commission of Arizona. Let's see, Bruce. Forestry and Fire Management. What about the State Mine Inspector's Office?
I'm right here.
There you go. Sorry. I knew it. It was right when I said it, I was like, he's right in front of me. What about the Arizona Fire Chiefs Association? Okay. Department of Health.
Hello, this is Eugene LeVar with ADHS.
Great. Thank you. So we have 8 representatives, so we do have a quorum, which is a good thing. Yes, we love it when we have quorums. So again,
good afternoon. Tom Nave, DPS. I'm also on the phone.
Okay, great. So again, thank you all for attending in person, and then all those attending by phone. You know, we recognize the Arizona Emergency Response Commission is an important function for all of us to understand how our state is prepared and how our state is managing emergencies across the board. So I do want to remind everybody this meeting is recorded, and let me share a little bit if you guys had not heard before. Our previous, the agency was audited by the Arizona Auditor General's Office, and one of the issues that came up is that a couple of our public meetings were not posted. The notes were not posted within like 3 days, which is required. So we've elected to record it, and then the recording can go up on the website, and then we can follow up so we can meet our audit requirements. So just let you know it's being recorded. So again, a quorum has been established. We'll start the meeting at 1:45 officially, I guess. So just a couple things, please everybody mute your microphones when not speaking. Please do not put your call on hold because we get some really interesting music and it stops our meeting. When we are making a motion, for those that are representing the AZERC, please state your name and we'll get an affirmative. So we're following those requirements. Also, if you're opposing a motion, let's state your name because we do record that. So in the event of a fire alarm, all we're going to do is leave all of our stuff, get up, go out here. We can either go to the right or left, and there's stairwells on either side. And restrooms are out this door, and probably somebody will just escort you out there the first time because it might get, these guys will escort you out because you might get lost. So a couple things. One, we need to approve the minutes of the March 22nd, 22 AZERC meeting. Those minutes have been sent out to the commission prior to the meeting, and wanted to know if there's any changes. If there's nobody who has any changes to those meetings, then I would like to get a motion to approve the minutes.
Josh Henson, DPS. I make a motion to approve the previous minutes.
Okay, do we have a second? Any opposed? Did we get a second? I need a second.
Chris Pittman, AZDEQ, second.
Robert's rules of order. Yeah. Any opposed?
Who seconded? I'm sorry. Paul?
Okay. Since we are hybrid and virtual, I'm not going to say everybody agree, because it's really hard to see people agree. So I'm going to really just focus on anybody opposed, and we'll go from there. Thank you, everybody. So the approval of minutes are final. We have a couple other just housekeeping on the AZERC. The Corporation Commission, we received notice that Jeffrey McCormick is no longer with the agency, and Mr. Joseph Pinkerman, Railroad and Safety Program Manager, will be the primary AZERC member for the Corporation Commission. And I'm not sure if Mr. Pinkerman is here, but we welcome Mr. Pinkerman to the AZERC. Great.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
Perfect, thank you. Next, Director Clark with the Department of Emergency and Military Affairs assigned an additional alternate member, Mr. Chris Pittman, who I know is here. He's with the Emergency and Recovery Support Coordinator, and again, we want to welcome Mr. Pittman to the AZERC. Happy to have everybody. And then we also got notice that the Arizona State Mine Inspectors, Paul Marsh, will be serving as the alternate to the Inspector Tom White. So again, welcome, Mr. Marsh. I'm not sure. Yes. Again, you're right in my eyesight. Why didn't I? You're right here. Maybe if you're on like, no. You should be right there. It's my brain's just not clicking. So again, welcome to the AZERC. Happy to have you. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant Josh Henson with DPS. We're going to talk a little bit about an I-10 hazmat incident that occurred on my birthday, 9/9. So that's not good. It's not good anytime. But yeah, so I'll turn it over to Sergeant Henson.
Is it fine to stay here? Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you guys hear Sergeant Henson?
Can you hear me online?
It's pretty faint.
You sure? Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, much better.
Awesome, thank you. So just a real quick introduction of myself. I'm Sergeant Josh Henson. I currently am the supervisor for the Hazmat Response Unit for DPS. And I've been with DPS for a little over 20 years now, and I've been part of the Hazmat Response Unit for about 12 to 13 of those years. So the incident we're talking about occurred on September 9th. It was a fatality, single vehicle collision involving a commercial vehicle hauling a trailer of anhydrous ammonia, about 8,000 gallons. And it occurred at 4:23 in the morning near Wilcox on Interstate 10, milepost 358. The company that was involved in this is Kimrad Transportation. They've had an incident within the last year and a half. I worked with their response unit, so I was aware when I received the call of their capabilities. Like I stated, the collision happened at 4:23 in the morning. We got, my hazmat unit got the call. Sorry, there's beeping going on, so I don't know if that's...
Thanks, people are joining.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
No worries, I know, no worries.
The hazmat unit got notification at about 4:54 in the morning. And it took us a little while to get there because my units were responding out of the valley area. So we did not arrive on scene until about 7:15 in the morning. Prior to my arrival, the district commander with DPS, Captain Chase, has established incident command, which he set up a command post about 4 miles away on Interstate milepost 354. They completely shut down the interstate and were rerouting traffic through other surface roads and other state routes in the area. I was informed that the tank did leak an unknown product prior to us arriving on scene. I was later told by ChemRad personnel that that was most likely what they referred to as a burp of some product as a result of the pressure due to the rollover of the tank.
Sergeant Henson, can I stop you just for a minute?
Yes.
So folks on the phone, we're getting some feedback. So if everybody can just make sure that your computer is muted, we'd appreciate it.
I think that's better. Thank you. I was trying to figure out what that was.
I know, I didn't want to.
Nope.
Nope.
Still there.
Nope, we still have some feedback. So if everyone just double check their computers to make sure that we are
I wonder if it's muted. All right, I'll continue. We'll see what happens. So the vehicle, again, this was a single vehicle collision that involved a fatality. When I was notified that Bowie Fire Department was on scene, when my first arriving trooper got on scene, there was only one individual from Bowie Fire, that was the fire chief. We asked him where the rest of his crew was, and to summarize his statement, he had sent them home. He was not happy with that. So en route, I requested additional fire assets and medical to come to the scene. Also notified ADOT Hazmat, Joe Logue, and he was en route to the scene. Joe notified me that he had made contact with the trucking company to have them send out the response crew, which was being flown out of Amarillo, Texas. He had also notified me that he notified ADEQ of the incident. Like I said, when we first got on scene, my first trooper set up a hot zone tape to keep everybody out of the hot zone, and then we conducted a cargo tank assessment. The tank itself had some scratches and minor gouges, but overall was stable. Tank pressure was holding steady at 150 psi, and the tank was about 80% full of product. There was no active leaking at the time that my first trooper arrived on scene. Once I got on scene, the Wilcox Fire Department, Simone Fire Department, ADOT, and a medical also arrived on scene. And ChemRad response personnel arrived shortly after. Prior to, they got there before noon. At noon, we conducted a safety brief with all on-scene personnel to clarify operational activities and goals. At that point, the ambulance had requested to be staged at the incident command post, which again was about 4 miles away. I told them that was fine. We made some other arrangements. They had some concern about being too close to the scene, but they were not in the designated hot zone at the time. During the safety briefing, at no point did any of the local responders, fire or medical, notify me of any required county hazmat incident plan or the need to make further notifications. So conducting and being in charge of the hazmat operations at the time and having the personnel I needed on scene, we started transfer operations, and that took place at about 12:42. So we're now, oh gosh, 8 hours into the scene from start to the beginning of transfer operations. The ChemRad personnel conducted the transfer while my unit and fire personnel were standing by as a rescue team, and there's additional fire units that set up decon. I was informed that the local hospital had set up decon as well in case we needed to send somebody there. At about 1:20 in the afternoon, we had to pause the transfer operations because ChemRad personnel had informed me that due to the tank laying on its side, that it would take an extended period of time to finish the transfer. They recommended to bring in the tow trucks with rotators to upright the tank to more efficiently conduct the transfer. Again, we conducted an additional tank assessment before moving the tank. We concluded that the tank was stable. So we had the tow truck company come in, rotate the tank upright, and then at about 4:15, we resumed the transfer operations, which took another hour and 20 minutes before the entire transfer operation was done. There was, during this, no injuries, no exposures or additional concerns were reported to me while I was on scene through the operation and to the conclusion of hazmat operations. Now, prior to my arrival, I got word that there were some first responders that did get exposed and they were taken to the local hospital. I don't know specific details about who they were or what their treatment was. The scene, after we were done with the operations, the scene was turned over to ADEQ and the Highway Patrol captain to complete the removal of the damaged vehicle and reopen the roadway. That's basically a summary of what occurred that day. But I did discover later, and this was a concern of mine, I did discover later that Cochise County had additional notification requirements that was never brought up to me as the basically the hazmat sector chief. And as part of being a statewide response unit, we rely, and when I say we, DPS as a whole, and specifically my unit, we rely on the local responders for any county-specific requirement. So I did a little investigating with my first responding trooper to ask him if anything was mentioned to him prior to my arrival to include notification of any incident action plan that the county may have. And he stated that he did speak with the Bowie fire chief and asked him to make any notifications for any mutual aid agreements that they had in the county. I don't know if the Bowie fire chief had conducted any of that or made any notifications. But again, it was bothersome to me because I found out later that there was notifications that were supposed to be made. So I felt like it made it look as if DPS had come in and ignored any of the rules or regulations that the county had put in place. And that was not the case. It was, nobody had notified us. So I was concerned about the knowledge of the responders that came in about if there is a plan with Cochise County and if that plan is active at the time. And at that point, that was my biggest concern. Everything went smooth, but now, like, if I'm allowed to open it up to questions from anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, definitely open it up to questions, but I think, one thing that I would like to better understand, have we resolved that gap, or is there still some work to do that we should evaluate the process?
So I think just from my chair, I think there should be an evaluation of the process simply because as a statewide response agency, there's 15 counties that I deal with, and most typically, I never go to these with any of these responses without some kind of representation of local responders.
Okay.
So I rely on them to provide me with additional information. The situation I was faced with, we were on the interstate, ADOT property, Highway Patrol jurisdiction, had local responders to assist in the operation of it. But again, later going to another meeting with the county, they seemed upset that they were not invited to or notified to come and assist. And that's not something I want to do. So I'm not trying to put everything on the local responders, but it didn't seem like they were aware, or if they were aware, that they fulfilled that agreement that they made with the county. I never got notification. Otherwise, I would have notified them.
Yeah, I mean, feel free if there's somebody on the phone that has any questions.
Daniel Duchamp, Cochise County Emergency Management. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Michelle and team. I want to thank you for your presentation, and I couldn't agree more with the trooper there from DPS. There was never a second guess of the command or technical acumen your team brought or the jurisdiction. We did conduct, I would call it an informal AAR here. We discussed it with the LEPC, and there were some technical deficiencies in Cochise County with how we executed the plan. There were numerous touch points where we saw where a local responder talked to the DPS units but never relayed that on. At one point, even our consolidated dispatch CCOM was notified. So please don't think anybody here is trying to place blame on DPS. I think we've got a little work internally with our hazmat plan and ensuring every district knows that. And it's still a little bit about Cochise County that a lot of the rural counties probably share as well. I mean, we're 6,200 square miles, and there's some places where you're not even in a fire district. We have 14 separate fire districts, and they're not all fully staffed with professional firefighters. So at times, if you're out there between Bowie and San Simone, you don't know what you're going to get, to be frank. So thank you to DPS, and we found we're able to stress test our plan and see where we need to brush up on some things down here.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. So obviously DEQ and our emergency response team is willing to assist you guys any way that we can. It sounds like you guys evaluated, kind of what happened, and you guys have put some countermeasures in place, which is great. Just know, reach out to ADEQ or the AZSERC for any assistance that you might need. We're here to help you. We're here to help everybody. Anything else on this particular incident? Thank you, Sergeant Henson.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, if we don't have anything else, I'm going to turn it over to Tim Gablehouse. He's going to talk about America's Water Infrastructure Act.
Well, hello to all of you. I assume I can be heard okay. Michelle, do you want to give me screen access, or how do you want to do this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We can talk after the training. Sorry for miscommunication.
You do have this presentation by email. We could do it that way if it's easier.
I'm doing it right now. There you go.
Okie dokie. Okay, hopefully this shows up for everyone. America's Water Infrastructure Act was passed a couple of years ago. It was buried in some other legislation, so quite frankly, it's not very obvious to most folks. Key aspect of this act is it amended the Emergency Planning Community Right to Know Act, EPRA, in some fairly important ways that, again, were also done in sort of a stealth fashion. I'm going to speak to you today based on experience that the National Association of SARA Title III Program Officials, NASPO, has had in visiting with CERCs across the country, as well as EPA, its various offices that are implementing this statute, and talk to you about sort of the implications for CERCs primarily. I am a member of the Colorado CERC, so we do have some experience in trying to cope with this act. So the act was passed in response to a fairly significant spill of MCHM in West Virginia the year prior. It was spilled to the Elk River from a facility that actually had not reported it under even Tier 2. It was spilled some 1.5 miles above the intake to a major water treatment plant. and West Virginia, and that resulted in a do not use order for 300,000 or more people. Needless to say, a pretty significant problem, drew a lot of political interest, as you might imagine. And the United States Senate was in the process of dealing with other related statutes. And so these amendments got stuck into that bill. And quite honestly, with almost no interaction from the congressional committees and EPA or anybody else. So it was a big surprise to a lot of people. It does two big things. It creates notification responsibilities regarding spills to be provided to the water utilities. I'll talk about that in greater length, and this is where the idea that Congress didn't bother to ask anybody how things work becomes obvious. We're only talking about releases from fixed facilities. We're not talking about transportation releases. It also creates emergency planning obligations for water utilities. They are now required to produce emergency plans dealing with releases of hazardous materials to their source water areas. So what the Act says is the State Emergency Response Commission, that's us kids, are supposed to promptly notify the state agency that regulates drinking water of any release. And then the state agency responsible for drinking water is supposed to provide that information on to the water utilities. Now, in most states, frankly, CERCs do not get real-time notifications of release reports. Usually these are going into an environmental agency or an emergency management agency. There are very few places in the country where CERCs actually get real-time notifications. As best we can determine, very, very few, in fact, almost none of the CERCs had a direct process for notifying drinking water agencies of releases. So that just wasn't reality. Realize that that's what Congress said reality was, but that wasn't reality. And in working with EPA after this act passed, they issued guidance documents to CERCs and others about how things actually work. Some congressional folks have been somewhat upset about that, but it has not changed, and there has not been congressional pressure to modify that guidance. And the way that guidance works now is it recognizes that CERCs are not responsible for reporting to water utilities. So there's no obligation in the statute for the CERC to talk to the water utilities at all. The agency also recognized that CERCs are not normally the primary recipient of spill notifications in real time. And so the recommendation from EPA to the water utilities provided through their water regulations, drinking water regulation office to water utilities, is that the water utilities should join local emergency planning committees and should make themselves known to local dispatch centers, whomever is handling hazardous materials release notifications locally, and make sure that they are on a call down list of that information. For most places, the bigger risk is transportation releases to drinking water source areas, rivers primarily, rather than fixed facility releases. There are not very many examples of facilities sitting right on the riverside with the potential to do a release such as was the situation here. But nonetheless, if we're going to deal with those, we should deal with transportation releases at the same time. And so that was the recommendation. Most water utilities that I've dealt with across the country are either pretty well integrated with LEPCs, their members, or they have made themselves known to emergency dispatch centers so that they get a call if in fact they have head gates that should be closed. So let's move on now to the emergency response plans. You will note that the bulk of these initial reporting dates has passed. At this point, EPA has not done any very aggressive work at all to verify whether or not emergency response plans have been prepared by the water utilities. I think they're much more focused on the next submission dates, which are coming up in a year or two. There is a requirement in this statute that, in fact, community water systems should coordinate with LEPCs in the preparation of these plans. There is a little bit of that going on when the water utility is, in fact, a member of the LEPC. But otherwise, on a nationwide basis, we don't see a great deal of this coordination. Ideally, from NASPO's point of view, and I think honestly from the point of view of EPA, they would like to see this coordination follow the models that are in the ASTM standard, American Society of Testing Materials standard on coordination and cooperation. That's a national consensus standard which addresses sort of the process for coordination with a lot of emphasis on managing the burden on LEPCs so that, in fact, they aren't overwhelmed with demands coming from facilities such as or from community water systems. So with the understanding that CERCs really are not in the business of providing notices to water utilities, a lot of information and work that goes out is based on you need to be part of your LEPC and you need, in fact, to talk to the first response community. Now, part of the reason we want people to be, these utilities to be part of the LEPC is this next part. Water utilities get access to Tier 2 data. That is essentially on the same basis that any state or local official has access to Tier 2 data. That is by virtue of a request to the LEPC or to the CERC, in which case those groups have 45 days to respond in accordance with the EPA regulation that's quoted there. It does not mean turning over an entire Tier 2 database for a county, much less a city, to the water utility. Water utility requests still need to comply with EPGRA, which means that the water utility or state or local officials are supposed to specify a specific facility or a specific facility location as part of that request. So it's very similar to just the standard state or local official request or the public request for information under EPGRA. Now, if a water utility is interested in a facility that is not a Tier 2 reporter, then in fact the LEPC cannot refuse to pursue the Tier 2 data. That essentially means you're going to make a request for Tier 2 data, and you're going to make that request under existing EPA regulations. The default quantity threshold for those requests is 0 under EPA regulations. The LEPCs can modify that to anything they think is reasonable or that the water utility thinks is reasonable. And in fact, the requests I'm aware of under this provision generally adopt a much higher threshold depending on the nature of the material. Under EPA regulations, facility has 30 days to respond to those requests. Now, if a facility refuses to respond, then in fact the LEPC can pursue enforcement, or they can refer that enforcement to US EPA, the regional office. There's nothing under the statute that says that LEPCs are required to go look for facilities that the water utility should address in their emergency plans. In other words, you don't have to go out and hunt for them. Nor do you have to exercise your authority to sue in federal court to obtain this data. LEPCs do have authority to sue facilities in federal court for Tier 2 data. But this statute does not require an LEPC to pursue that course of action. So with that, I realize your agenda is full and that you're busy, and that what I just did here was very much a fire hose of information. So I'd be happy to address any questions. stunned silence is the normal reaction I get.
Thank you, Mr. Gablehouse. I don't think we have any questions. Next is going to be Michelle when we talk about the process.
Okay, I am going to, can you still see my screen? You can.
So while she's doing that, I just wanted to remind, so ADEQ houses the Tier 2 database. For those that might forget, we house the database. We work with the companies that are required to file a Tier 2, and that reporting season is January 1 through March 1st? March 31st. Again, we maintain that database.
Okay, so currently what we have in place, because I wasn't sure what to do with all this information that we were getting. So we get information is sent to the AZSERC from our several people. One is called a wet notification that comes from our ADEQ water department. They send us these notifications about water outages and boil watery advisories and whatnot. So what I've collected this is a spreadsheet. I save every single email and every single report. And so these are the reports that I've received since I started collecting this information or putting information together. I put it in a folder and and save it here, and then I present it at the AZSERC meeting. Now my question is to the AZSERC is what do you want me to do with this information? Would you like me to disseminate this information, every email I get and every water advisory I get, and send it to everybody? Or should I just present it at a meeting when we meet?
So let me put a little context to it. These are not water issues due to a hazmat issue. Correct. These are an E. coli issue, or they have a lead spike in some of the sampling, because drinking water providers routinely sample their water. So if they have an issue where they're above an aquifer water quality standard or drinking water standard, then they might issue a boil order, or a wet notice. And we do provide that notice to the affected community. So again, I just didn't want anybody thinking that these are all related to hazmat issues. They're not. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts. I mean, I think my recommendation would not to be to flood your emails with wet notices of a buoy having a boil water order, and maybe just boil it down in a summary slide, at the AZSERC. But again, I'm open to any other ideas. Does anybody else have any other thoughts on that?
And it is quite a bit of information. There's a lot of reports, and yes, you would be inundated with emails from me.
So if we don't have any, Jeff, I don't think this needs a motion. But you can, as my attorney, you can remind me. But the thought is we would just summarize it in the AZSERC meetings. If anybody has any question about water outages, and the water outages usually a supply or they got a pump go down, we have that information. What we will do is we will check. I would like to take an action to check our website with drinking water to make sure, because I'm pretty sure we post these on the website, and maybe we provide the AZSERC members a link to that too. So in case you need to look at something, you guys can always look at that too. Does anybody have any? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think you need an emotion for that. Also, we still have the screen share projecting up on the main image, so I wasn't sure if you could turn Tim's presentation, if you could close that out so we can see who's talking.
Yeah, Tim, can you stop your presenting?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I would need Tim to stop presenting. I stopped Tim as a presenter, but I can't stop him from sharing.
Oh, okay.
That's an interesting problem.
I don't want this to stand in the way of the meeting, but it was just something I'm noticing.
No, I appreciate that, Jeff.
I don't
So-
believe I'm sharing anymore, actually.
I'm sorry.
If you go
So,
to your
because
own,
that's all closed on my machine.
On mine,
the presenter on yours.
go to my three dots over here.
I think if you right click that, you can make yourself.
I thought I was the presenter. Make present.
That worked.
Okay. So not hearing anything else, that's the plan. We will share the water outage information via the CERC meetings, but we will also just take an action to locate the information on our website and share that with the CERC members in case they ever want to look that up. So in case you guys were following along on the agenda, I skipped the executive session. We will go into executive session, but my plan is to go into executive session after item number 10. So moving on. So highly hazardous flammable trains, the HHFT. For those that don't remember, this is a report that we get from, it's a confidential report that we get from the railroads regarding the type and the amount of hazardous materials traveling along our railways. And when we get a report, we share it with the LAPC. Michelle, do you want to kind of run down? We share it with the LAPC, but then do they disseminate it to the fire departments, or they just hang on to it and use it as part of their planning? They use it as part of their emergency response plans for the county. So again, it is submitted as confidential information. We have received some reports, and we have disseminated those to the LAPCs so they can take whatever appropriate action. Any questions on that? So item 9, the call to CERC members. I just wanted to update you on a couple action items. We had an action item to send a link to the commissioners for the emergency response plan that has been completed. Our second action item, send a link to Alan Clark for the AWIA workshop. We completed that as well. And then AZERC staff was asked to send agenda packets to CERC, and we've completed that as well. So right at this moment from previous meetings, we don't believe we have any outstanding action items. So we're all, so you guys don't know, the emergency response team is phenomenal. So I couldn't do this without all of them. So they handle things very well. So let's go to item number 10, and I'll turn it over to Michelle.
Okay, so I'm having some technical difficulty, and I apologize because I'm working with one screen, but I'm going to share what I can. So hopefully you guys can see it. I'm going to try and minimize this part here. And we are going to do the local emergency planning committee. We're going to do our LAPC review. And first item is going to be our memberships, that people who have submitted, LAPCs who have submitted for membership, and this is voting membership. I'm trying to get this out of the way. There we go. These are people who have submitted from the various LAPCs, and they have submitted applications for their voting members. And they come to the CERC. The CERC, our staff gives interim approval. Then we present to the CERC for ratification. All of the people, I think there's 19 of them, have been approved since our last meeting. The last one we had was 4/29, and the most recent we had was on September 9th. So these have all been given interim approval, and so I'm asking the CERC to ratify these approvals that we've provided.
So again, a lot of movement on some of the LAPCs, but I think that's good because again, we've had a lot of conversations with the LAPCs about, and you'll hear a little bit later about compliance. So what we actually need from the AZSERC is we need a motion to ratify all the new parties of an LEPC. Do I have a motion?
Josh Henson, DPS, I make a motion to ratify all the new members of the LEPCs.
Do we have a second?
Omar, I second.
Any discussion? Any opposed? Okay. So motion passes to ratify all the new LEPC members. Thank you to the LEPCs for working hard to get your members and meet the requirements for the membership requirement for your LEPC.
All right, there we go. Okay, so the next item is we're going to talk about LEPC compliance. Okay, so here's what we talked about, the voting membership applications that you just approved. And just so you know, each of the LEPCs will be receiving their applications back that just says that the AZERC has approved their applications, even though they have received interim approval prior. Here we are with the LEPC compliance. And when we talk about compliance, this is about the memberships. And under ARS 49-124B, the members are required, the membership is supposed to have a minimum of 5 members, and they are group 1 is elected officials, group 2 is first responders, firefighters, medical, and then the third one, group 3 is going to be broadcast and print media, group 4 is going to be, I'm so bad about this. For group community groups, group 5 is going to be our facilities, and is that it? Group 4, yeah, and group 5 is going to be our community members. So this are HOAs and whatnot. So we have this shows how the LEPCs are faring, and Apache County, as you can see, is missing group 3, group 4, and group 4. So we've got the community groups and the broadcast and print media. What you will notice throughout this presentation is that most LEPCs struggle with the broadcast and print media. We have received information that they can utilize, not PIOs, but they can utilize social media personalities, if you want to say, members who they do presentations or give information about the community. So if you have a blogger or you have somebody on social media who is actually giving information on the community, they can actually serve in that capacity in group 3. So that helps. We also have somebody who's on TV. They have a small TV presentation or what is it called?
Just like a little show.
Yeah, show,
like a
and they
local
do everything, a local show, and they have they're part of the LEPC, so that covered it. So that was helpful. We do have Cochise, who was out of compliance, who is now in compliance. They've done a great job getting everybody back on. If it says status, they are working on recruitment. They are in contact with me about what they are doing to try and recruit these members. They're reaching out constantly to try and get people to join the LEPC. And I mean, it's tough because people don't want to attend these meetings and they're thinking it's a big commitment, but you know, they're trying to explain to them how important it is that they participate. Gila County is missing the owners and operators. We've got Graham and Greenlee, of course, group 3. La Paz is in compliance. Maricopa, again, group 3. And Mojave has a few. We've got 1, 3, and 4 that are missing. Navajo is in compliance. Pima is, we've got a couple that they're missing 1 and 3. And then we've got Santa Cruz, Yavapai, and Yuma, who all have met all the compliance that is necessary for their membership. So it's great. We really got a good we're moving forward on this. And thank you to all of the LEPCs for working with us on that and making sure that they're in compliance. Next one we've got, go ahead.
Before you go there, I knew up on the slide, so we have offered, obviously I've offered to make phone calls or write a letter to anybody, you know, especially elected officials or broadcast media I'm happy to call them and talk with them about how important it is. So if any of the LEPCs need that assistance, I'm happy to jump in, and whether I can make a difference, but I'm happy to give it an effort to see if we can't, you know, get everybody back in compliance and with the right membership. Sorry, Michelle.
No, thank you. Next thing we have is we follow all of our LEPCs, and if they're compliant with their bylaws and how they're supposed to have during the year. Many of the LEPCs have changed their bylaws in this last year, so I have updated what their requirements are. So you'll see at the side of their name, so it's semi-annually, quarterly, and annually are the three that they're participating in. And what we do is we track to make sure that they're in compliance, but mostly so that we can participate and offer any assistance that they may need, provide any presentations that they may want at all of these LEPC meetings. For the most part, we try and attend all of them. There's been a couple that we've not been able to attend because of prior commitments, but for the most part, we've attended every meeting. So as you can see, we've tracked them. We've got a couple that are due for the fourth quarter. But really, everybody has been really good about their meetings and getting them together and making sure that they're having them. So this has been great, and I appreciate everybody who's done that. Yuma has one due in, oh, this is something different, sorry. Let me go to the next, oh, here we go. Next one is biennial exercises. So the LEPCs are required under statute to have a biennial exercise that's every 2 years so that they can exercise their emergency response plan. This is very important, and we are trying to emphasize the importance of making sure that this gets done. So we're tracking that as well to just help them be in compliance, to provide assistance if they need it, to also attend. Somebody drove away on me. I bored him. To attend, you know, to attend the exercises. I've participated in a couple of them. They're very exciting. I'd like to see how each of the LEPCs does them. So it's very important for us to be part of it. And also CERC is required to be notified 30 days prior to any biennial exercise. So we are constantly in the loop. This is where we're at with everybody. We've got Apache that's due in 2023, and we did grant an extension to Cochise County until 2023. They've had a huge turnover, and they're working really closely with us on this to make sure that they're in compliance moving forward. Graham and Greenlee, everybody knows we merged them last meeting, and they're doing wonderfully. They're working very hard to get their biennial exercise. This will be their first one as an LEPC by the end of the year. And so as you can see, these are the people who are due for 2022. And then of course, we've got some that aren't due till 2024. So this is just an overview so that you are aware that we are keeping track of this and making sure that everybody's in compliance. Does anybody have any questions? Sorry.
I don't have a question, but I have an interjection.
Okay.
Yeah, you should know me by now. So I really want to make sure I know, forgot, do we have, so we have Mr. Pittman here from DEMA. So my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're not here to kick me under the table, but correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, if somebody needs assistance with a biennial exercise, I mean, they can reach out to DEMA and get some assistance. Is that still the case?
That is still the case on putting together something within counties. We have an exercise branch, so I think I see Alan popping on there possibly.
Yeah, so you know, I know we have LEPCs on the today, but we also want to make sure we have the workshop tomorrow with the LEPCs. We want to make sure that we highlight that DEMA is here, you know, as a resource. DEQ is here as a resource too, but DEMA has that exercise branch. So, you know, again, I think they might be the first stop, you know, in getting that assistance. But, you know, we just don't want the LEPCs to say, hey, you're all on your own. We're here to assist you. And I know DEMA is definitely here to assist where needed. Thank you.
So I am asking this, the CERC to please vote on the extension that we, or ratify this extension, hopefully you guys approve, that we gave an extension to Cochise County. We did give them an extension prior to, but now this is a further extension regarding their exercise. And so we've gone a little over what we would normally give. And so I'm asking how you all feel about that, how you want to proceed.
Cochise County is on the phone, correct?
Dan Duchamp is on,
I thought Dan.
Correct.
There he is.
So Dan, I mean, is 6:30 realistic? You know, or are you guys looking at maybe pulling that in some? Help me understand what you need.
Yes, absolutely. After working with Michelle and David there for the biannual exercise of the hazmat plan, we requested extension to June 30th, which is the end of fiscal year 23. And to be frank, there's been just a lot of turnover in the emergency management position. I came here in June, and I was about the third in 3 years, I think. And as Michelle's seen, we're in triage mode. We're just getting the LEC committee back up to a quorum, getting little things done. And I think we can get it done in the spring in coordination with a full-scale exercise for our EMPG grant through DEMA. And I think there would be more value to it. To be frank, if we did this within the next 90 days, it would just be banged out and perfunctory to get it done. I'd rather wait 4 or 5 months and do it for real and have it be meaningful. So that's why I worked with Michelle and David to make this request.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that context. Is there any discussion about the extension for Cochise? So we need to ratify the extension that we've already given them. So do we have a motion to approve the extension for Cochise County to do their biannual exercise no later than June 30th, 2023?
Josh Henson, motion to ratify the extension. Paul Marsh, second.
Okay, so I already asked for discussion. Any opposed? Okay, so decided. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the partnership.
Absolutely, and again, you know, reach out to DEMA, reach out to us, however we can assist you.
Absolutely, and I've been interim director, but I've accepted the position full time, so no more turnover.
Congratulations. Okay.
All right, next item is I wanted to give the commissioners an update on the Graham-Greenlee merger. As I said earlier, we merged them in March of 2022 at the last meeting, and we had timelines that we needed to meet. We gave them basically this is what we want done. I am happy to announce that we did meet most of the timelines, a couple extensions here and there, but we held their first LEPC meeting. FEMA also offers the virtual tabletop exercise program. We got a little chat there.
Oh,
okay. We also reviewed they held their first LEPC meeting on August 4th. It was a virtual meeting and it was video. It wasn't just by phone, so we were very happy about that. And they completed their minutes in the 3 days that we needed, and they posted them to their website. So they are in compliance with open meeting law. We are very happy about that. They did review their bylaws, emergency response plan, and they did have a presentation on open meeting law so that they could understand the importance of open meeting law and to be in compliance with that. And they are currently working on the recruitment of a Group 3 LEPC member, as I mentioned earlier. So Colin Fanning has been awesome. He's very receptive, and anytime we reach out to him, he responds, and so we're very happy with the communication, and this has been a successful merger, so I wanted to give you that update. Next item is our bylaw status. So remember, I've been working on this for about a year, trying to get all the bylaws updated because we're still working on state statute 26 I don't remember the number anymore. We wanted to bring it up to the current statute, which is 49 ARS 49, Chapter 1, Article 2. There we go. And we wanted to make sure that they were all updated. We wanted to make sure that they were meeting open meeting law because of some of the quorum status that we had in there. And I'm happy to announce that everybody's bylaws are up to date and we're ready to move on. So thanks to all the LEPCs for working with me on that. I know I've been a bug about it, but I think it was successful. So, okay, and that's it. That's all I have for that one.
So I think at this point, I would like, need a motion for us to adjourn into a short executive.
Oh, wait, no, we're not done. I'm sorry. We skipped the emergency response plan and I apologize.
Oh, as I was wondering.
Sorry, my fault. I skipped.
Just trying to keep David from having a shot.
And he wasn't even saying anything. Did you see that? He stayed right out of it.
I wasn't going to interfere with.
You should always raise your hand and say, you're going out of order.
Because I was clicking too fast.
You almost got away with it.
It looks like I'm in read only because you're in there. So let me see if I'm allowed. Okay, so let me get out of there. No, I skipped over that D, but Camille reminded me. Thank you, Camille. Oh, Dave, you're up. You can use your own. You can use the doc.
Oh, no. So, hello everybody, I'm Dave Rella with the ERU AZERC staff. So I just wanted to those LEPCs who are online, I just wanted to say thank you for getting all your plans in on time. I have reviewed them all. You all should have received emails from me regarding the status of them. And for AZERC, like I said, they were all submitted on time. There are quite a number of them that do need a couple minor updates, which I am working with everybody on. I've received already email correspondence saying they're going to work on it, they're getting it done. So I gave them a date of the 12th of November, which gives us some time before the end of the year to get everything situated in order to close out the year with all the plans. At this time, we have 3 plans that need approval to be ratified, which is Gila, Yuma, and Santa Cruz. Those plans met all the requirements in statute. Those will need a vote to ratify here today. But like I said, everybody's been very prompt in getting their plans submitted and very willing to work with me and getting them updated as needed. Is there any questions for me?
Nope.
All right.
Thank you. Sweet.
Did you want to share that we did give them the link, just to remind everybody we gave them the share folder link?
The AZERC? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all of AZERCs should have the link to the share folder, which contains all of these plans and any review sheets that are written up on them. The sheet that I used to review them is located in there with my comments. The LEPCs have access to the shared drive as well as AZERC.
Great. So we need to ratify 3 plans?
Yes.
Okay. So Gila, and then, I'm sorry, what are the other 2?
Yuma and Santa Cruz.
Okay. So do we have a motion to ratify those 3 emergency response plans?
Omar, I motion to ratify those 3 plans.
Ooh, going out of order.
Josh, some DPS.
Okay. Any discussion? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. So now at this time, I would like to step in for a very short executive session meeting. So Michelle, do you want to just run through the process?
Yes, so everybody who's online, after you do your motion. Everybody who's online, the executive members, you should have a link to a different executive session virtual option, and that should be through Google Meet. If you all could log out of here and log onto that one, that would be great. And then we will return here after executive session has ended, and you'll have to log back on to go to meeting.
Okay, before we do that, Michelle, the executive session is on Google Meet. Is that a separate link? Because I don't have that in my appointment here.
Yes, I'll send it over to you right now.
Jeff will send it.
Appreciate it. Great. Thank you.
So I need a motion to be able to go into executive.
Yeah, we need a motion, a second, and a vote before we can go into executive session.
Got it.
Josh, if DPS have a motion to go into executive session.
Paul Marsh, I second.
Okay. Any opposed? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, this is Cheryl Kennedy. I was just going to ask if there was a phone number for the executive session, only because I'm not able to hear in the go-to meeting.
Yes.
Okay, so Michelle will, there is a phone number, but Michelle will make sure that you have it.
Thank you.
So we are actually going to step out of this room and go to that room.
Right. I'm going to have, so can you take your, can you email, send her right there. Cheryl, that number right there. I need to stop sharing. How do I stop sharing?
I'm back in 10 minutes then.
No guarantees. You may not be here.
Is that Cheryl Kennedy? Yeah, Kennedy.
Oh.
Just send her that number. Cheryl Bowman, her. And then just send her that number there. And I shall return.
It's a track order.
Yeah.
in the meeting
You're in the meeting?
for the last hour and 25 minutes. Yeah. How you doing? How's the baby?
Better.
Yeah.
Should we back forward, cameras down? Hold on.
So thank you, everybody, for hanging in there with us while we've been into executive session. I do need to retake roll to make sure that we continue to have a quorum going forward. Alan Clark. I know Alan's here, just saw him. Homeland Security.
Michael Stidham for Arizona Homeland Security.
Hey, Laura. Or Michelle, can you all hear me?
I can hear you, but I think Laura was muted.
Okay. Yeah, Laura, I just wanted to let her know that I'm dropping off to another meeting that I have on border issues right now. So I'm going to be dropping off of this meeting. I think they're.
Is that better?
There you go. Yeah, okay. There you go.
Okay.
I do have team members on. I believe I have Kathy Hassett still on.
Perfect. So again, we're just going through the roll call again to make sure. So Department of Agriculture, still here? Corporation Commission, Mr. Pinkerman?
Yes, present.
Ms. Marsh? And we have Department of Health still here?
Yes.
And we have myself. So we have 7. Well, actually, we have 8. So, okay. So just wanted to provide everybody just a quick summary of the executive session. The AZSERC received some legal advice about how the AZSERC should deal with. There's some options for counties that might be out of compliance with both statute and rule required for all the elements required of an LAPC. So that was discussed in executive session. Moving on. So I'm going to turn it over back to Michelle, and we're going to talk about HMEP. And just for the rest of the folks on the agenda, I want to make sure that we are on time and that we end at 3:30. So let's keep that in mind.
I'm going to rush through mine, so let me just present real quick. I could do this. Share. Okay, here we go. Can you see my screen? All righty. So real quick, what I'm going to go over is our HMEP. Everybody's familiar with it, I'm sure. If you are not familiar with it, it is the Hazardous Material Emergency Preparedness Grant Program for states and territories. And what we had this year is we received a notification of our new grant that starts October 1st. ADEQ received a grant award in the amount of $451,419. And our subgrantee award letters are being prepared. The performance period is from October 1st, 2022 through September 30th of 2023. Year 3 grant 2 status, which is the grant we are currently in, will end. We got an extension through December 30th of 2022. I have $647.20 of our $354,000 grant that was not allocated. Oh, no, that's something different though. It's the current one that we're in. Thank you. And so we have a lot of people who still need to spend their money, submit for the reimbursements, and that's what you see on the second total, which is the $196,000. I'm still trying to spend that. It's already been allocated. Everybody knows they have to spend it, but I'm really proud that hopefully if everybody spends their money, we're only going to turn back in about $700. So that's wishful thinking on that.
Yes, because the more we spend, the more potential we can get more money. So well, again, I thank everybody for putting in for the HMEP, for taking the actions necessary to spend those dollars or to get reimbursement.
Yep, so we had a successful HMEP 3 years, so I'm excited about that. Okay, that's all I have on the HMEP. Pretty simple.
Well, you're
Yes, sir.
So just as a reminder for everybody, the HMEP is for hazardous materials training. And what it's going to talk about is the Emergency Response Fund, which is actually for hazmat equipment. So there's 2 different grants or 2 different.
Hi, everybody. Again, that's me, Dave Varela. So I manage the Emergency Response Fund here for ADEQ. Can you advance the slide?
Sorry, my thing is not working. There you go.
So just a quick snapshot overview of what we received for FY23. So we had 58 departments applied, totaling $388,000 and 382. So that is an increase from previous years. We had the dollars went up, as we all know, with inflation, but also the departments who applied went down. We're down about 9 from last year. So we're still getting plenty of participation, plenty of requests. So here you have a quick snapshot by county. And we encourage all the counties to apply for the equipment, supplies, whatever it is they need, and let us know. So as you can see, there are some counties that have really big needs, really big wants. Obviously, we cannot grant it all because we are limited in funds. So we have not yet awarded any of the requests. If you can, next slide, please. So we are still in the process of that, just as a time frame. We are still reviewing the requests, and we will have award letters out by November 1st. So if you do have questions, most of you do have my contact information, and I have been in touch with you. So here we have our historical data. We've begun to compile this data to start tracking and to start, hopefully we can increase the amount of funding for ERF in the coming years. We are seeing a need. We have had an increase in requests and the dollar amounts keep going up, but our obligated amount has not been increased. So we are looking at ways to hopefully, show the need for all those who are applying, and hopefully we can get those numbers increased. But like I said, we've great participation. Thank you to everybody who attended all of our coordination meetings this year. We did host a coordination meeting for every single county, which allowed us to talk to them individually and hear their needs and give them an opportunity to voice their concerns and their needs. So once again, any questions, let me know.
Just have an interjection, of course. So we're going to be talking about this at the LEPC workshop tomorrow. I'll bring it up. So this is an appropriated fund, and we only have 132,800. I have the ability to ask during the executive budget request, but what I need is stories about what would happen or what has happened if fire agencies don't have this equipment. So I have to make a compelling ask, and then I have to demonstrate how this money is going to be used. So we are pulling some money out of the bank account for ERF to deal with an AFFF project. I know Bill's going to talk tomorrow at the LEPC workshop, but there's money in the bank. So I don't like having money in the bank that I can't spend when we have a need. So we need help in making that compelling case about equipment. So this next, the next budget request is not due until September of next year, but I'm going to be asking folks to think about that and to share those type of stories so we can make a compelling pitch to the legislature to actually give us some of that money that's sitting in the bank account. So,
great, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. You always know I'm in here.
Is it state funds?
It is, yes, it's state funds. So it is 10% of the hazardous waste management fund, which are the fees that the hazardous waste generators pay, go into that fund, but it's appropriated at $132,800. So even though we show the need, we have to make it much more compelling case. So.
Next, okay. So next item on the agenda is our Tier 2 report. I'm just going to give you a review, kind of an overview of what we did. So in reporting year 2021, we received 324 calls and emails regarding Tier 2. They had questions regarding assistance with the program. They needed passwords up, usernames, reporting. They just had a multitude of questions. And so we had been tracking those. And what's interesting is we tracked these manually. We tracked them through spreadsheet, and we just logged them in there. And so we got a lot of information. We identified how many calls, the percentage of calls, how many were actually multiple issues, how many were just strictly assistance with payments, or maybe how to change a password or username, so on and so forth. So we had tracked those, and here's what we identified that we had Tier 2 customers assisted for reporting year 2021. But we thought that was a little cumbersome. So we developed what's called a survey 1, 2, 3 for tracking. And it's just a great little form where we go in and when our staff gets these Tier 2 calls, which by the way, we can all answer our calls at the same time. There are multiple calls come in, we can all pick it up. So hopefully you don't go to voicemail or nobody goes to voicemail. And we enter the calls into this handy dandy spreadsheet that is so wonderful and quick and easy, and boom, it identifies this it gives us all this information. It tracks the calls, it tracks what the calls are about, it tracks just everything, and it's automated. So we're very proud of this information. This is our new survey dashboard at a glance, just so you can see how we're doing that. And this is a way for our team to identify what our concerns are during Tier 2 reporting season, which by the way starts January 1st through March 1st of next year. And now can you imagine, you get 300 and some odd calls in 60 days. It's a lot. And if those calls take about an hour to resolve, that's a lot of time. So we wanted to identify what our issues were and where we needed to focus, on who needs to handle what. And I think this was just a better way to do it. So I wanted to share that with everybody.
Thank you, Michelle. So we're winding down, so I'm sure everybody's excited about that. An action item review, I only remember one action item, which is to make sure that we have, you want to repeat what the action item?
Yes, action item is to check the website to verify if we are putting the AW or the WET notifications on our website and share them with our CERC members. Perfect. And provide a snapshot for them at our CERC meetings.
Perfect, thank you. Is there anything from the CERC that for future agenda items, anything that you would like covered? I mean, if we don't hear it here, you can definitely email AZERC and we'll get it on to the next agenda. But does anybody have anything burning that they would like to be added to the next agenda? Okay, if not, at this time, I want to make a call to the public. Do we have any public for any comments?
Yes, I have one question.
So please state your name, please.
This is Eugene Simons.
Okay.
A few months ago, AZERC solicited some feedback from industry regarding the current Tier 2 system. Have there been any decisions made regarding this, such as changing to a new system?
Yeah, so thank you. We are in the process of evaluating options. You know, I think we are leaning toward a new system because our current system really isn't doing everything that we needed to do, not only for our customers, but for the agency. But we are still in that evaluation piece. I will tell you that we have secured some funding, internal funding, for us to continue that evaluation. I do get feedback that a lot of people like the amphibian format that we have. But I think we have found, again, we're evaluating vendors, and I think we might be going to an off-the-shelf product, but that decision hasn't been finally made. It's not a final decision. Did that help?
Yes, thank you.
So this would not be for this reporting period. This reporting period is the same system. So what we will do is in DEQ's practice, we will have some stakeholder meetings about a new process and a new format to get your feedback. So we will continue to have those stakeholder meetings, but everything for this next reporting period starting January 1 will stay the same.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
You bet. Any other folks from the public that would like to speak? Okay. If not, we have a proposed date and time of the next meeting, which is Tuesday, May 30th of 2023. That's just a long way away. Let us know if there's any challenges with that. We are meeting twice a year. There's always an option to meet more frequently if we need to, but I think the twice a year has been working. But again, there's an option to meet even more frequent. Any other last comments from the AZSERC members? Okay, if not, do I have a motion to close the AZSERC meeting?
Josh gets some DPS. I motion to close the AZSERC meeting.
Do I have a second?
Paul Marsh, I second.
Thanks, Paul. Any opposed? Okay, thank you, everybody. I do want to thank everybody for their service. Public service is a great thing, and I appreciate all the time and energy that you give to these meetings and to doing what you do every day. Thank you. Can we stop, please?
Thank you.